Hello and welcome to our 7th session of Elevate Your Wellbeing Contagious Care. I want to particularly welcome all the new members that have really been encouraged with how many people have joined on to this group. It's just wonderful. 213 members I noticed this morning, and it is just lovely to have you all here from all parts of the world and many spaces in my life over the journey of my 60 years, and so many people that I don't know yet, but really enjoying getting to know you through these sessions, and particularly welcome to the new people today. So give a thumbs up or a wave or a love heart to let me know you're in so I can know who I'm talking with today. That's really encouraging to me. And so lovely to have you here. And for those newcomers, Contagious Care I set up so that we can care for ourselves through this contagious time with COVID. So we can care for ourselves and care for our loved ones. And in doing that, as we care for each other, then that care will just ripple to our communities as well, so that we can serve each other in this process and step up to find the best in each other through this season. It's been encouraging this morning seeing a few just different spaces where we can level out now and go to have some more connection times, but we're still in that season of needing to be careful. So what is this? The purpose of this is to help us through these sessions to imagine ourselves, say in August, 4 months' time, and looking back, what do you imagine you might be able to say to yourself? What are some of the things that you could have accomplished through this time with extra time on your hands? You might be able to look back and say, hey, I accomplished such an inner sense of self-worth, inner growth through COVID-19. I really focused on developing personally. Or you might be able to say, I learned to develop a positive growth mindset, which we're going to be looking at over these next couple of weeks. I discovered a simple way of meditating towards higher well-being. Or you might be able to say, I learned to manage stress so much better using mindfulness practices, which I'm going to start on today. Or you may be able to say, as a family, we got back to the simplicity of life. We started connecting with each other in deeper ways, sharing deeper conversations, going for walks in nature together. We took an interest in each other's world on a different level than what we've ever done before. Or as parents, giving our children more focused attention. So there could be all sorts of things that you have just brought in to your attitudes of life, your ways of being. And I want you to visualize fairly frequently that time in August when you look back on this season for how you have grown through it and the new person that you've become. Now, it's interesting with the stresses, how we can grow through life. And we looked at that particularly within the couple relationship last week. But the stresses with children are just insurmountable for some. Still being cooped up and doing the homeschooling. And it's interesting with all the pressures on relationships through COVID. A friend told me that she's finally decided not to have children anymore. She's going to tell them over dinner tonight. So we need to develop a bit of humor through this as well. And That's just what she shared with me, but she's not really going to tell her children tonight. She loves the children dearly, but that's how you can feel sometimes through these stressful times. So I want you to tell me how you're feeling right now out of 10, on a scale of 0 to 10, just a general feeling that you have, like in terms of well-being. How are you generally feeling in your well-being on a scale of 0 to 10? So welcome to you today, and I'm just going to say, as you're typing that in the comments section, all of you who are here, just want to say hi to you. Kayla, great to have you here. And Chloe, yes, welcome Chloe. I think this might be your your first time. So particularly welcome to you. And Peter, great to see you here. And Marie and Renee, my exchange sister from the States, welcome. And Diane, lovely to have you here also. Just appreciating the relevance of these videos, just about the recent videos and relevance. So, Marie, yes, we have to have a sense of humour. That's right. So lovely. Okay, and Marie's feeling an 8. Alita, welcome to you. Alita is feeling a 9. And Rachel, welcome to you. And Diane, you're feeling a 7.5. I love that specificity. So, keep on putting how you're feeling right now, because we're going to be focused the next couple of weeks on our own inner well-being. We looked at relationship well-being over the first 6 sessions, really, in how we deal with our stresses in our relationships. But as I said in one of the earlier sessions, it's really important for us to be able to, as we're told in the aeroplane, to put on our oxygen mask first so that then we can help others. And so we're going to focus over these next few sessions in particular how we can put on that oxygen mask and self-soothe. So today's session is called Self-Soothing and Connecting with Our Breath, the very most important thing to start with our self-soothing. And it's interesting because our breath goes with us everywhere. So we can tune in to our breath immediately. We don't have to, it's not like me with cycling. I have to go down to the garage, put my helmet, my special bike jersey, my bike gear on, and get a water bottle and do all of that. And that takes about 10 minutes to get ready to go cycling. But you know what? The self-soothing of breathing doesn't even take 1 second. We're there because we're with our breath. And it's the most important aspect of being able to really self-soothe and eventually give us calm. It's interesting, the word calm, because many leaders are telling us to stay calm. I understand their intention, but it's impossible to always stay calm in these turbulent times. Yes, you might have moments of calm and lengthy moments of calm, which is just wonderful, but you're more than likely to notice moments of fear and anxiety and overwhelm and sometimes depression. They might be just small moments of feeling really low, or they might be deeper than that. And we might be feeling aggression as well in the rapid changes that have been occurring. And these feelings and responses are normal. It's the first thing to realize. They are normal. It's okay to be scared. I had a friend talking to me about her fears the other day. I've had many clients opening up about what are the extra stresses on them. And all of this is normal to be more anxious right now. It's okay to be overwhelmed. And it's important to identify those feelings and normalize them so that we can move from that point. So I'm being told to bring Amanda on camera. Add. You, Amanda. And hi, Olivia. So, yeah, I hope that I've been able to do that from this end. Yeah, if you are having troubles. So, yeah, the key is not to avoid the feelings of anxiety or panic or fear, but to learn to, because if we try to just, if we identify it and then just say, oh, I'm not going to feel that way. No, it's not there. If we're denying it or minimizing it, we're actually putting energy into the wrong source there. So it's very important to just be able to, A, normalize the feeling, and B, accept it, and then to, after we've acknowledged it, to accept it and learn to self-regulate in the midst of all these feelings, and then to connect internally. So when we get scared, we often orientate ourselves outside of ourselves to get a sense of safety, and we look externally for the answers. But our sense of safety is not from outside. We can't get it from outside ourselves. We need to go within. Our ability to activate that sense of safety comes when we learn to activate what's called our vagus nerve. And that goes from our brain to our stomach and affects a lot of internal organs. And so it's the main component of our parasympathetic nervous system, which is the opposite system to our adrenaline system. Remember, last week we talked about the fight, flight, and freeze responses. That's our sympathetic nervous system, which is all adrenaline related. But the parasympathetic system is, it's all about this incredible nerve called our vagus nerve. And it's the nervous system, the system that controls our physiology. So it helps us to relax and rest and digest. And that's part of the autonomic nervous system. And that has the power, because deep down, we all have this ability to actually rest, digest, to reflect, and to relax. Now let's all take a deep breath in now. Just want us to take a moment to do this. If I can ask you to just close your eyes and take a deep breath in and exhale. And as you exhale this time, I want it to be initially longer than your inhale to really activate that vagus nerve that gives you the immediate rest and relax. If we inhale for 4 and exhale for 6, let's go. And out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now it's really that simple. Take a few more inhales of 4 and exhales of 6. Deeper breaths, longer on the exhaling initially, and then eventually you'll balance the length of inhaling and exhaling, and you'll get a sense of balance, a sense of connection with yourself. And when you learn to activate through that vagus nerve with the breath, It puts the brakes on when we feel overwhelmed, when we really feel anxious, depressed, or in a heightened, more panicky state. So this very simple technique won't change anything out there. It's not going to change our external circumstances, but it will change our own perception of safety inside. And most of us, what's going on is out of our control anyway, for most of us. So your authentic sense of safety is an inside job. Remember, it's not what happens to us that matters. It's our perception of what's happening and how we react to what's happening that really matters. I'll say it again. It's not what happens to us that matters. It's our perception and our reaction, our chosen response to what happens that matters the most. And that's all an inside job. I learned that very, very important lesson big time when I went through cancer 10 years ago. That yes, it was a huge shock to start with, a huge challenge going through intense chemo and radiotherapy. The whole journey of that year of cancer treatment was massive, but I learnt some important lessons of life, of it's what goes on inside my chosen response, that I had total choice of how I responded to this situation in my health, that made all the difference to my health in the long term, my inner well-being. So we can't control many things in life, but what we can control are our perceptions, how we perceive what's going on, our decisions, our actions, and we can control our breath. And that's what we're going to focus on today, how we can control our breath. Because if we really understand and get this and practice this with relaxing with our breath and being mindful of our breathing and how that is going, we'll be able to activate what's called the prefrontal cortex of our brain, the most evolved part of our brain, and then real gold will happen. You see, as a mindfulness expert said, Peter Bliss, he talks about mindfulness as being the science of paying attention. And it's learning to be with what's happening within us, to be with all of ourself, our thoughts, our feelings, the good and the bad, the right, what we call right and what we call wrong, and not judging it as right or wrong, but just connecting with those feelings authentically, being on purpose in the present moment as we connect with those initial feelings. And as I said last session, when we identify those feelings and the patterns that we looked at, we learn to let go of those feelings and the behavioral patterns we've learned, so that we can focus on the ones that are important to us and the ones that are serving us well. So it's about identifying, acknowledging, accepting, and then choosing to focus on our breath in that important time when we need to self-soothe. And if you're continually activating your vagus nerve consciously by doing that, first the inhale and the exhale for just a touch longer, and then coming to that normal pattern of breathing and being very conscious of it, you can activate your prefrontal cortex, which with the brain, if you just think of it like this, and your prefrontal cortex is right behind your forehead. So if you activate that through simple techniques like this breathing one, you will override the amygdala, which I like to call the snake of the brain. It's the knee-jerk reaction part of the brain, the stress response, the fight, flight, or freeze reactions that we talked about last session, a few sessions back. And when we can hook into that center of the brain, the executive center, where really we own that power that it has by connecting with that. I'm just going to look at a couple of responses. Marie, you are such an excellent example of calmness. Oh, thank you, Marie. Just listening to you helps me to feel calm. Thank you so much, Marie. I really, really value that. And welcome to Margaret, who's just tuned in, and Amanda. Thank you. So, yeah, it's important to remember that in these turbulent times, that's how the brain was designed to have that knee-jerk response to start with for survival. Remember, hunters needed that. They went into fight mode to kill that animal for survival, or to run away from it if it was too close for their own survival. So they either had to go and hunt it and kill it to be able to eat, or run away if it got too close and they knew that they weren't in that position to get it for food. Our brains have been created for that survival instinct, and all the associated fears are completely normal within that. But the body, remember, is always trying to get you back to balance. A balance of sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems, to homeostasis and stability and regulation. But we misinterpret all the data, all that stimuli of stress, panic, anxiety, overwhelm, fear, depression, and judge all those feelings as bad. And when we get into that judgment mode, we just go on a different roller coaster, and it's always downhill. And we simply exacerbate all those feelings then when we start judging them. And even we've been told to get rid of them, before we can get rid of them in the end, or soften them, minimize them. But if we put all the energy into trying to get rid of them initially, we're not looking at what they were there for in the beginning. It could have been there to help us to become more alert to danger ahead. Remember, conflict, the Chinese symbol, is, pardon me, two things that alerts us to: danger or opportunity. Which one are we going to go for? While I'm catching my breath, I'm going to just pause for a moment and ask you, what two things do you go to self-soothe? What immediate things do you go to? It's interesting. I want you to put them in the comments section, that your first two go-tos are when you feel stressed. Okay, my first two go-tos, or first few go-tos, would be prayer, because my faith is an integral part of me, and I find that as well as soothing and talking to God about my concerns, and to help to soothe me, just to find rest in Him and wisdom from Him through reading the Bible. And other ways I find really self-soothing is water. Simple water, having an ice water or warm water and lemon. Other ways, fresh air, I find really self-soothing, to just go out for a few moments and self-soothe in that way. Also, one that's not so helpful, dark chocolate, I will go to for self-soothing sometimes, but I like to put it with raspberries, so that makes me feel a little bit better that, you know, and they say dark chocolate is got some great qualities as well. So, but yeah, I've got to be careful not to overdo the dark chocolate. So I want you to just type in your comments section, what are the things that you go to? What are your go-tos for self-soothing? Because we want to be able to identify what's helpful in that and to keep doing it, but maybe some things which aren't so helpful. So welcome to you, Musha and Marianne, and Candy, welcome also. And I wonder if that can help you get onto the camera. Sorry. All right. So a couple of people have not been able to get onto the camera today. And I'm so sorry about that. And I'm just going down because one other, I think you're all here now, hopefully. Okay. So Candy, welcome. And Mindy, I agree with you about water and lemon in it too. Me too with chocolate. And Kayla, mine are reading and quiet times alone. Beautiful. So it's finding what your go-tos are. There we go. Keep on putting them in because we're all a resource here for each other. And so what you find is helpful will be really helpful for others as well. And they may not have thought of it. So remember, the wisdom here is not just from me, it's the whole group. So put your wisdoms in now, everyone. Marion's saying God is also one of your go-tos, and people and a cup of tea. Great. Going for a walk either on the beach or anywhere, really. Movement, so important. And we'll look at that in a future session, just how our bodies were created to move and to rest. Yeah. So keep adding those things that you find helpful in self-soothing. So it's important to remember how our brain has been designed, and the body is always trying to get into that balance, all right, of being able to come back to stability and regulation. But we need to help it do that. And instead of misinterpreting that stimuli that makes us go to the fight flight response, we need to just know that we can identify that as feedback to the brain to tell us we're a bit out of balance. So instead of saying, oh, bummer, I'm anxious, and then feed more negative self-talk into your brain, you could say, I notice I'm anxious right now. Take that deep breath and exhale for longer to get connected with the vagus nerve. And then you'll be able to continue taking those deep breaths and simply in your mind then tell yourself, this is just feedback to me right now with how I've been feeling and what I need to do. It's an alert to tell you we need to do something differently right now. So when we learn to activate that most evolved part of our brain, our prefrontal cortex, that's right behind your forehead, it lights up and it overrides the amygdala. So when we've lit up, but in times of stress like now through COVID, the amygdala tries to rule. So we need to tell it it's not the boss. The amygdala wants to be the boss. It's designed for survival. Remember, that snake is designed, that snake-like thing that just keeps feeling out of control. But the good news is there's many ways to activate our prefrontal cortex, including balancing the breath, taking that time out to go to your happy place, to actually soothe yourself with true gratitude. So important. We're going to do a whole session on that because it is really so vital. And all the mindful practices, which we'll touch on as well in future sessions. So when you do that, you awaken your true self, your presence, when you get in touch with paying attention to what is going on inside yourself. you awaken your certainty, your enthusiasm, your vision, your inspiration, your purpose. Remember, your purpose that you want to create through this COVID time and continually for afterwards as well. So you get in touch with your intuition, your true meaning. All these things happen from your executive center in the brain, your prefrontal cortex. So you have access when all these things are aligned with opening up your heart. You connect to your mind. You actually hear your voice there, your vision, and all that comes into alignment. You have access to your ideas, your strategies, your own wisdom, your reason, and your self-belief and self-control. And so you're able to navigate even the most challenging situations to be your true, authentic self. But we need to get to that place. And the way to start doing that is through our breathing. And the end result is that you grow no matter what is happening on the outside. No matter what is happening in your external world, you can get in touch with your internal world and really grow from that place of inner being. I'm going to just read out some of these wonderful comments here. And going for a walk on the beach. Candy, Marie, a cup of tea, walking in nature. Candy, oh yes, reading and just listening to classic FM on the radio. That's right. I wake myself up sometimes with the alarm, with ABC, with just beautiful classical music. That was the word I was trying to think of. And that just inspires my mind to take action. It just gets me just waking up more quickly and more smoothly. My wonderful bed is a soothing power, Marion. Good on you. And Emily, welcome today. Lovely to have you here. Heather, Emily, sorry. Yes, Heather, wonderful to see you. And Alita, you find the most soothing things are praying and looking to the positive. So you've got that future positive mindset, which we'll be looking at in future sessions. So as we finish today, I want to just tell you a quick story about the power of the prefrontal cortex. And my mum had a stroke. She had 2 strokes, one of which her prefrontal cortex was affected very severely. But it was in the positive sense. Normally when you have a stroke, it can affect you and you can become quite agitated, very sadly. But for her prefrontal cortex, where she had the stroke, it actually gave her, for the first time, this most delightful, well, she had a bit of a sense of humor, but it skyrocketed because of her stroke. What happened in the prefrontal cortex, she developed a self-effacing sense of humor and a delightful, humorous response to most things in life. And she also developed empathy, a high level of empathy that she didn't really have before in her responses, in her expressions to people. And so this just skyrocketed through her stroke. And it was amazing because we had 8 years extra with Mum, with these 2 wonderful, exceedingly high attributes that she didn't have on that high level so much before. So the prefrontal cortex is the most powerful organ in our body, the most powerful part of our brain. And so really take note of this. So it's important to experience our emotions, both sides. But summing up now, let's learn from them, both sides of our emotions. Instead of just categorizing them as good or bad, let's learn from them by listening to them, asking ourselves how what signal is coming and how we can be alert to that. Keep breathing. Develop that exhaling for a touch longer to start with, and stay connected with your breath. And eventually you will know which emotions then to let go of as they no longer serve you. You'll then have the energy to focus on those emotions that actually elevate your well-being. So think of your breath as your friend, your anchor. It's always with you. It's been with you since that beautiful day that God created you when you were brought into this world. Your breath has been with you for that long. And so, especially if you're in isolation on your own right now, remind yourself you're never really alone. You have your breath. You have your best friend. Your breath, your mind, your body, and your heart. So get connected with those aspects of yourself and really learn to appreciate and enjoy them. So until next time, focus on these things of today, quieten your spirit, and if you're on the replay, don't forget to put your comments of how you have found the best practices of self-soothing, so we can all be a wonderful resource of wisdom to each other in this group. And so share your thoughts, and until next time, be brave, be life-giving, and let your light shine. I'm going to focus on gratitude on Thursday, so look forward to tuning in with you Thursday, 11 o'clock. Take care until then.